So my topic is resin transfer molding process and product development of composite parts using virtual simulations. So before entering into deep, so let me introduce some of the introduction part, like some of the basics about what I'm going to do. Uh, we all know what is polymer matrix composites. Polymer matrix composites are manufactured by combining reinforcement fibers and resin matrices. And if you see, there are varieties of resins available commercially, and moreover, we can also able to uh, stitch our own resins if we know the chemistry part. So, best examples are unsaturated polyester resin, vinyl ester resin, epoxy resin. And when it comes to fiber part, glass fiber, carbon fiber, and aramid fiber, you can able to see in a simpler way how the composites are made by combining resin matrices and reinforcement fibers. So next one, in manufacturing thermoset polymer composites, there are wide varieties of manufacturing techniques. For an example, open molding processes, closed molding process, winding method, and continuous production method. And in open molding processes, we can able to see, like in normal methodologies, hand layup method, spray off method. In closed molding processes, you can able to see resin transfer molding, vacuum associated RTM, compression molding, binding as usual, filament binding, and continuous production methods such as pultrusion. So there are wide variety of manufacturing methods. We can decide this manufacturing method mostly depend upon the complexity of the product, dimension as well as complexity. So here I am comparing hand layup versus resin transfer molding because in modern days, these days, like if you want to manufacture a complex product as well as a large dimensioned product, people always prefer hand layup compared to the higher end manufacturing process, because first thing what we need is mold. So for higher manufacturing processes, which is very difficult to very difficult to initiate the process and development of the prototype. So when it comes to hand layup method, it's very much manual method, open mold process. It is very simple. It will product is manufactured by sequential addition of reinforcement fiber and resin matrices, and we can apply temperature to cure the resin and cure the composite part, and it can be extracted from the mold very easily. In everything done by manually. And when it comes to resin transfer molding, you will have two halves. It's a closed mold process, two halves, bottom mold as well as closed mold. And the process stages are, first you have to prepare the fiber perform. Then you have to fill the mold by injecting the pressurized resin. Then you have to apply, the resin may be cured under temperature, under higher elevated temperature, or it may be in room temperature. Then once the curing is done, you have to demold it. That's the end of the process. We can compare, because as I told, like I'm just comparing with respect to advanced resin transfer molding with respect to manual method. So if you go for hand layup method, there are a lot of disadvantages, like you will get one-sided finish, your product will not have a uniform thickness, and obviously you will have a lot of volatile emissions from the resin, which is very much harmful. And when you, it has long cycle times to produce a product, and it is impossible for complex structures, and it is very much labor intensive. And very importantly, the mechanical strength of the product depends upon the fiber volume fraction, and you may not get more than 40 to 50% of fiber volume fraction when you go for hand layup method. So whatever disadvantages I have listed out in hand layup can be converted into advantages when you go for RTM. Say for an example, it will give you two-sided finish, uniform thickness. There won't be no volatile elements since it's a closed mold process, and it is very much atomized. So you will have a short cycle times, and if you have the facility to create mold, the complex and hollow structures can be easily manufactured. And obviously the manual thing what you require in hand lab can be reduced very much in RTM process. And definitely you will get more than 60 to to 70% fiber volume fraction, which is important for mechanical aspect of composite polymer composites. So irrespective of all these advantages, RTM is not commonly practiced by any of the academicians, researchers, or like big industries or small scale industries produce large and complex structures for a reason that first the developing cost for a proper mold design. If your product is very complex, then mold design is totally complex, and moreover, prototype developing and process. So process parameters, effective process parameters for RTM process, these developing will be little critical, little difficult. So that's why generally people won't go for RTM process where they will go for manual process. That's very simple. And when you go for development of RTM technology for a specific composite part, it may be a simpler one or it may be a complex one, irrespective of the things. So when you want to develop RTM technology, these are things very much important. First one is proper mold design you should have, then effective process parameters. When it comes to proper mold design, you should have effective injection strategy as well as pressure and temperature distributions. When it comes under effective injection strategy, I should able to know what are my number of injection ports and vents, and what are my how I am going to place these injection ports and vents in the mold. And moreover, whatever your number and placement should ensure you that I should not have a mold fill, I should not have voids. It may be micro voids or macro voids. The mold has to be filled without the voids. And when it comes to effective process parameters, obviously you should be able to predict what is my optimum injection pressure, optimum injection volume, optimum injection temperature. So everything should be effectively known before you start a process. So what are the methods to develop RTM technology? Obviously, you can have more number of trial and error experiments, as well as you can go for virtual simulations. When you go for trial and error experiments, it needs a lot of development time, and moreover, it needs more development material cost, new mold cost, as well as you need to alter mold because you have to fix your ports and vents different way, so that you have to alter your mold every time. And moreover, if the mold dimension is very bigger, so it may not be very much possible. And very importantly, whatever you do trial and error experiment that end up with suboptimum solution, you may not ensure that your objectives like mold fill without voids cannot be achieved very easily. And when it comes to simulation, obviously it is in virtual mode. You can have a better prediction with more iterations. The development cost is lesser, development time is lesser, and you can validate with only 1 or 2 experiments whether the simulation are okay or not. So that validation will give you the effective process parameter, as well as all these number of injection port, vent, whatever we placed is correct or not, or whether it is optimum or not. So the objective of this presentation is to tell you how to develop an RTM technology for large and complex composite structure using process simulation. And moreover, see, I have developed a process simulation for a large and complex structure, but how can I validate in an experimental way? Because I cannot manufacture the bigger one at one instant itself. So I have to develop a scaling down methodology to manufacture a prototype, and I have to validate whatever effective process parameters and prototype developed from the full scale. So has to be validated in a scale down mold. So that will be the validation, experimental validation. So this will be the total outline of the work. Like first I have to select one complex and large composite structure. Then we should be able to, because when we are going for virtual simulation, we have resin parameters, raw material parameters, resin parameter, fiber parameters. So we have to characterize, and it has to be fed to the simulation tool. And you have to develop RTM process for full scale through process simulations. then what is my scale down strategy so that I can develop a scale down mold to validate my full scale simulation. So component selection. So we have selected large and complex structures of high speed train came front. You can see it is 3.5 meter width, 3 meter height and 12 mm thickness. And this is currently used by Indian Railways and manufactured by hand layout method only. And this structure may be used for all other trucks and mass transit system. So this will be a replica for other complex structures also. So obviously, when you go for simulation thing, we have to find out what is the effect of meshing. So when you see the meshing part, like we have tested with number of nodes, number of elements, different number of nodes and different number of elements, and we have concluded that there is no appreciable change when you go for that last one, mesh element size 0.04. So obviously, element size of 0.06, 0.04 we have used for fuller development of simulation environment of the composite part. So first, so resin or yeah. Excuse me. Shall I continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So resin, we know pre-polymers, one of the raw material. The resin is pre-mixed with accelerator and catalyst, and it is injected to the mold. So resin flows into the mold with a chemical and physical change. So when you see chemical change, there will be the pre-polymers cross-link with the exothermal heat evolved. And the physical change, because of the chemical reaction, cross-linking, there will be a change in viscosity due to the exothermal heat evolved as well as the applied temperature from the bottom of the mold. And the resin also goes a phase change from liquid phase to gel state, then rigid solid state. So all these things has to be properly characterized and it has to be fed to the simulation environment. And what are the important characterization required into the simulation tool are, like I should know cure kinetics, because this will tell you how fast is resin is going to cure and how fast it is going to convert from resin liquid resin to gel state, then the rigid solid state. And real kinetics, obviously, how the viscosity is going to change with respect to the reaction as well as temperature as well as time. And resin gelation. This is resin gelation is very, very important. So because the mold filling cannot be done after the resin gelation. So in industrial practices, resin we have to complete the mold filling within the 40% of resin gelation time. Then only you will have the complete flexibility in mold filling process. So next one is resin cure kinetics. So we are going to develop one model how this resin is getting cured. So we use differential scanning calorimetry for developing the resin cure kinetics. So resin cure kinetics depends upon rate of cure, which is nothing but cure conversion, degree of cure, which is nothing but degree of cure per time. And degree of cure is nothing but when you do DSC curve, so heat of reaction at any time T divided by total heat of reaction, which is nothing but the area under the curve. The partial area under the curve divided by total area under the curve will be giving you the degree of cure. So this is the total methodology how to create resin cure kinetics model. So first you have to conduct non-isothermal DSC experiment. Say for an example, I keep some few milligrams of resin sample, pre-accelerated, pre-catalyzed, and it has to be loaded to DSC. And non-isothermal, say for an example, 10 degree per minute, I have a ramp, and you will get a curve like isothermal curve like you will have enthalpy versus time data. So with that, you should find out what is my onset temperature, when is my reaction starts, when is my reaction peaks, and when is my reaction ends. So these data you will get from non-isothermal method. To conduct, then you have to conduct few isothermal DSC experiment for the kinetics data. So how you will select temperature for isothermal DSC experiment is that you have to take some temperature intermediate between the onset as well as the peak, because there is a reason. If the temperature less than onset temperature, it will take a lot of time in DSC because to start the reaction. If this temperature is less than onset temperature, it takes a lot of time for initiation of the curing of the sample. So when you take some temperature above the peak, see, before the DSC scans the thermal heat that is getting evolved from the sample, before the scanning, the reaction might have started. So to avoid its discrepancies, we have to choose some at least 4 to 5 temperature between the cure onset as well as cure peak from the non-isothermal DXV experiment. So from the isothermal experiment, you will get heat flow as a temperature of as a function of time for different isothermal temperatures. So you can able to see from that curve, you should find out what is the area at any time, particular time, what is the area, particular area, and total area of the curve will be giving you degree of cure as a function of time at different isothermal temperatures. Then you have to take the slope, rate of curve, d alpha by dt. You will get from the slope at every instantaneous time, you will get slope at a particular time. From that slope, which is nothing but rate of cure you will get as a function of time at different temperatures. From rate of cure and time curve, you could able to easily model rate of cure is nothing but function of degree of cure and temperature using classical resin cure kinetics models. There are a lot of models available in this. So you could able to see how it is modeled in the later stage of the presentation. So I have taken unsaturated polyester resin for an example, and we have conducted non-isothermal cure DS experiment 10 degree per minute heating rate. So from the curve, you can able to see that it is cure onset. The cure onset temperature is 60 degree, and the peak is at almost 105 degree. So as I told earlier, like when the temperature less than 60 degrees centigrade, the reaction is slow, so you cannot choose the temperature. And when it is more than 105 degrees centigrade, the reaction will be too fast. And before the DSC scan that thermal data which is coming out, will be substantial data might be lost before the DSC starts scanning. So we have conducted experiments, isothermal curing experiments at DSC at 70 degree, 80 degree, 90 degree, and 100 degree centigrade. So after doing all this degree of cure curve, rate of curing curve, so this is the curve like end of the cure kinetics model. Like at four different temperature, you could able to see the curve graphs that it is for 70 degree, 80 degree, 90 degree, 100 degree, the degree of cure with respect to rate of degree of cure. And when so we have used nth order cure kinetics model. So from the model, we can able to fit it up, and you can see how the empirical rate constant, kinetic parameters, and goodness of fits getting varied. So at lower temperature and lower degree of cure, nth order kinetics did not fit well to the data because due to slightly autocatalytic effect. We can able to know what is autocatalytic effect because as I told earlier, when the reaction is getting proceed, there will be exothermal heat that is getting evolved from the curing reaction. So this exothermal heat, again, it increases the rate of reaction with the temperature. So that's why it is called autocatalytic. The reaction itself catalyzes for further reaction. So that is what it is called autocatalytic. At a higher temperatures, higher degree of cure, nth order kinetics fit well because obviously, you could able to see the curve. Like at the starting itself, the curing rate should be very higher for nth order model. So it is fitting to all other things. In RTM processing, higher degree of cure is often achieved, and hence nth order cure kinetics model was preferred. And this is for specific resins. This model can differ. Like if you take epoxy, if you take vinyl ester, the models totally differ because in resin system itself, irrespective of chemical nature, you have three different resin systems. One is slow curing system, medium curing system, and fast curing system. According to the manufacturing method as well as according to the requirements, we choose the resin systems. So according to the resin system, these kinetics model differ. So for us, this unsaturated polyester resin, sometime it is very fast curing resin system. So we used nth order, which is justifiable. So after creating the kinetic rate constant, you have to find out what is the activation energy required from the Arrhenius equation. So when it fit into Arrhenius equation, you can able to find two things. One is activation energy as well as frequency factor. After getting those data, you can able to find the final resin cure kinetics model, d alpha by dt, which is given in the form which is shown in the slide. Okay, so what can I say? Like, what is the need of activation energy? If I able to read activation energy from any kinetics data, if the activation energy is very higher, the process happening will be very tougher. If the activation energy is very lesser, it says that happening is very faster. So it may be very elementary. Say, see, if you buy a resin, so most of your manufacturers won't be telling what will be the curing time or what will be the guess, like whether it is fast curing or this thing, slow curing. To have an idea, so if you see the data, product data, it is given for the resin, you can able to see only, okay, you cure it for 180 degree for 3 hours, you will get 100% cure. It may not be right also, or it may not be required also, because it is very energy intensive process, curing process, because you have to apply temperature. So you could able to understand from the activation energy how easily I can cure a resin. That is what I meant to say. So next one is the rheokinetics. How the viscosity is getting deferred, or it getting changes during the process. In this case, we are using a viscometer or rheometer, and as well as coupled with isothermal DSC data also. It's like from from the viscometer, you can get a data like viscosity as a function of time at a different isothermal temperature. That experiment can be carried out. So from the DSC data, how the heat is getting evolved, dH by dt, at a different time for different isothermal temperatures. So from isothermal temperatures, from the isothermal rheology data, from isothermal DSC data, using curve fitting tool, you can club the data and you can able to find out what is the viscosity change as a function of degree of cure and temperature. So you can able to see from the diagram. So you can have 4 different temperatures: 25 degree, 40 degree, 60 degree, and 50 degree, time, viscosity, as well as degree of cure. So you can see from all these graphs how the viscosity is varying as well as the degree of cure is varying with respect to time. At lower temperature, viscosity remains constant for longer period due to slow reaction before the attainment of gelation temperature. At higher temperature, viscosity shows a biphasic nature. So because when the temperature is applied, the temperature goes down a bit because the relaxation of polymer science. Then when the reaction started, there will be cross-linking, there will be appreciable change of viscosity, and then it attains the gelation state. Thank you. So next one. So this is the complete curve for viscosity as a function of cure conversion and temperature. So the model has been developed. These cure kinetics model and viscosity model has to be fed as a raw material resin parameter model for the simulation environment. So this is very, very important because as I told that resin is pre-accelerated and pre-catalyzed, and the proportions of accelerated and catalyst predicts is very, very important for gel time. Like if I use more accelerator, more catalyst, the gel time will be very lesser. If I use lesser accelerator and lesser catalyst, the gel time will be very higher. So according to your need, you can change the accelerator catalyst, and moreover, this changes everything. Like viscosity will get varied as well as kinetics will get varied. So this proportion of acetylate and catalyst is very much important. And before you go for the manufacturing process, you should know what is your gel time process with respect to different combination of accelerator volume and catalyst volume. So we have done some 25 experiments, and we can able to have a plateau like how this gel time is getting varied with respect to different accelerator catalyst. And we have selected one optimum level of accelerator catalyst. After that, we have performed the kinetics and viscosity studies. So that's all resin characterization. When it comes to reinforcement characterization, which is nothing but the fiber mat. So first one is porosity is very easier. Like with some weight, aerial weight, we can able to calculate what is the porosity of the fiber mat. And permeability is very important. Permeability is nothing but how is this fiber mat is allowing a liquid to flow inside through the mat. So there are two methods used: fluid conductivity method, which is known as Darcy's permeability, and we have used visualization technique, which is known as effective permeability. You can able to understand why we need these two methods to find out the permeability in the later stage of the presentation. So we have created one setup for identifying or measuring permeability using fluid conductivity method. So this is constant flow injection method. And whereas if you could able to see in the figure, so there is a mold where you will keep your fiber reinforcement mat within these two molds, and it is having vent point where you will have a pressure transducer as well as constant flow pump. And moreover, the pressure change inside the mold with the function of time can be recorded using pressure transducer. We have a data acquisition system. So you can see there are radially arranged electric sensor, and the fluid should have a electrical conductivity property. Then only you can use this setup. And the fluid is injected and it is allowed to flow through the fiber mat. And when it reaches the sensor, the sensors will get activated. In that case, we get able to see two things: what is the pressure difference, as well as the time of reach for a specific sensor when the fluid is flowing through the fiber mat. And moreover, the permeability is obtained using the given equation, Darcy's equation and radial flow equation. From the experiment, we have used 70% honey solution, 70% glycerin solution, water and all. And we have used different reinforcement mats like 90-degree O1-1 mat and chopped strand mats. And from the data, we can able to see that ln of R by R naught, Ri, this is radius of injection to R naught. So R naught is nothing but the outer radius of the flow front. And you can able to see that how the resin injection is getting varied. And if you could able to see that the permeability data for different test fluid like 70% honey, 70% glycerin and water is totally different, like the order itself a difference. So this may be a particular thing, because permeability should have a single value, whereas we could able to see that there are a lot of values with respect to test fluid usage. Very simple that you may say that it is viscosity, but the permeability is a function of only fiber mat. It should not be a function of test fluid usage. So the reason may be that when the fiber mats or fiber filaments are produced, there is a factor called sizing. Sizing is some of the chemicals which is applied as a coat to the fiber mat so as to avoid external damage for the fiber mat. So the sizing chemical may have preferential thing for certain fluids. So that is why it is preferentially allowing different fluids with a different permeability. So we cannot use this data for the for the simulation tool, because I need only one data, permeability data for fiber mat, which is to be how this resin is getting allowed within the fiber mat. So that is the very important thing, rather than having these different permeability data with the different test fluid used. So that's why this method is not that appreciable to use it for simulation environment. And we have gone for adapted one another flow tracking method using visualization technique. In this technique, we have used simulation as well as the experimental method parallelly to find out what is the effective permeability for the resin injection itself. So we have conducted the actual experiments used with the setup like two mold, wire mold, a rectangular mold, with the real fiber mat as well as the real resin we have used. And in the other direction, so we have conducted this, we have replicated the same experiment in the simulation environment, and we try to match the flow front as a function of time. The only sensitivity what we have is we have changed different permeability, X and Y permeability of the mat, and we try to find out which permeability, X and Y permeability, these experimental flow front position as well as the simulation flow positions are getting matched. So this is for woven drawing mat. So permeability is Kx. So data it is given 2 into 10 power minus 10 meter square. Ky, that is permeability at y direction, 5 into 10 power minus 10 meter square. So for these two permeabilities for woven drawing mat using unsaturated resin, it was perfectly matching between the experimental flow front position as well as the simulation flow front position. So this is the effective permeability for the woven drawn mat in terms of X direction as well as Y direction. So we have tried to find out what is the effect of the pressure. So we have varied the pressure also, and we have to try to find out what is the permeability variation, but it is not varying much. So when it comes to comparison between the unsaturated polyester resin with respect to woven drawn mat and chapped strand mat with respect to different injection pressure, you have the replicability of the permeability measured. So we can able to ensure that the effective permeability at X direction and Y direction for 90-degree woven mat as well as CSM mat with the values given in the tabular column. So now it's come to the important part, like how I'm going to perform the mold filling simulation, isothermal mold filling simulation for large and complex part. What we have taken is high-speed K front. So there are three parts: isothermal mold filling simulation, air entrapment simulation, resin curing simulation. First is isothermal mold filling simulation. So this is the complete data required. Like we are going to use PAM RTM software, which is supplied from ESI Industries, France. And we are going to use for isothermal mold filling simulation Darcy's law only, which is given in the slide. So what we have to supply is discretized geometry and raw material parameters such as pure kinetics as well as viscosity, rheokinetics, which is viscosity modeling. Then what are the things you have to give us a feed is number of inlet port and vents. I have to fix the inlet ports and vents in the mold. So that is feed from the user. And moreover, number of, it has to be chosen by me. First, I have to decide what is the number of inlet port, what is my number of outlet vent, then where I will be placing, and whether I am going to inject the resin in pressurized mode or constant volume mode. So these are the things you have to feed to the software. And what are the output thing you will get? So you will get mold fill time. You can able to see like how much time it is required to saturate the mold, first thing, and how the mold fill pattern varies with respect to time. Then how the pressure is getting distributed, volume is getting distributed within the whole domain of mold filling. Then whether I am getting able to fill the mold by saturating the whole mold or whether I will be getting dry spots. So these are the observations you will get. So with respect to the my intelligence, I can have a feedback from mold fill time, mold fill pattern, pressure distribution, dry spots. And again, what I will do is I will change my number and from the feedback and analysis what we get from the inferences, I can change number of ports, vents, placements, as well as whether injection pressure mode or volume mode, that I can change, and again I can able to analyze it up. So at the end of the thing analysis, I could able to find out what is my effective injection strategy, and whether I could able to inject the resin in pressurized mode or constant volume mode, and what will be the volume or magnitude of injection pressure, as well as if I want to have a constant volume, what is the liter per minute, liter per second I have to inject within the mode. So these are the data I can obtain from isothermal mold filling simulation. So effective injection strategy, what are the combination we have used so far? So injection port, I can have a single point, say 10 millimeter port, injection port, one single port, or two single port, or four single port, or a line injection. Line injection is nothing but kind of pipe. You have a continuous line output in the resin delivery. And wet, as usual, you can have a single point wet where the air gets out through the vent when the resin is getting injected. Then two single point, four single point line vent. And what are the modes of injection we have used? Because we have gone for lot of permutation and combinations, and I'm presenting only selected things. So you have a numerous choices. So we have started from the scrap, from 1 atmosphere to further atmospheres, 1 liter to further liters per minute of resin injection, and single point, multiple point. So a lot of combinations we have done, and only selected port has been chosen to present you. So these are the results I'm going to show you. So before I go for presenting the results, what are my desired conditions? Like when I want to fill the mold, I have to have a lesser mold fill time, because it will the direct function of process time. Then it should be have a more nominal pressure drop. We are not supposed to have a more pressure drop within the resin, because it will affect the mechanical design of the mold. Then very important, I should not have any micro void or macro void, because it's a closed mold. Once the product is made, it will be if there is any dry spots, it will be given for rejection. Since it's a closed mold, I cannot predict just like that by experience whether that mold will be saturated completely without having the dry spots. So that's why simulation becomes a vital tool. And what are the inferences if I get a large mold fill time? So from the simulation, I could able to understand that there is an inadequate injection ports and vents, inadequate injection pressure or volume. So if there is any excessive pressure drop, so it may be either due to higher resin injection pressure or higher injection volume, constant volume injection. So if there is any dry spots happened, micro or macro voids happened within the simulation results, you can understand that flow front reaches the vent. From the injection port, the flow front reaches the vent before saturating the whole mold, which is due to the improper positioning of inlet ports and vents. So these are the inferences we have to take care. So by adapting all these inferences, so I am giving certain examples how it is created in a simulation environment. So you can see that where the injection port is placed, where the vent is placed in the first diagram. So it is at the extreme corners, injection port and vent, and it takes 10 hours, 34 minutes. So with respect to 5 atmospheric pressure gate, which is, if you see the mold fill time, it is a huge time, like 10 hours. Nobody will be afford to have such a long period mold filling. So though it is having no dry spots formation, but when I invert the thing, see, this is like the flow is against, in this case, the flow is against the gravity. So there is no dry spot formation. In the second case, you can see that obviously it is at the injection port and vent are at the extreme corners, but the thing is that it is reversed, like vent is at the bottom, injection is from the top. See, gravity is also, it is also affects a lot. So in this case, because of gravity, the mole fill time has reduced from 10 hour to 2 hour. But the thing is that if you see, dry spot is getting formed. And moreover, it is not a pressure gate, it is a flow gate. But the thing is that I want to show what is the effect of gravity. But when I use 0.5 liter per minute resin constant volume injection in the corner, top corner injection port, point injection port, dry spot is getting formed, which is shown in the blue color in the result. So obviously we can able to see that if the mole fill time is higher and if there is any dry spot formation, further optimization is required within the change of inlet injection port and vent, as well as whether it is pressure gate or the volume gate. So in this case, 2 injection port, 2 single port vent at the corners, 2 single point injection, pressure gate of 5 atmosphere. Still you can able to see there is a dry spots formation, as well as it is a large, huge, what to say, it's a mole fill time. The mole fill time is 4 hours 58 minutes. When you go for 4 point injection at the corners, vent at the 4 midpoints, the pressure gate of 5 atmosphere, 2 over 13 minutes. So there is also dry spots formation. Further optimization is required. So you can see some of the good studies. See here, line injection, whole window perimeter is used as line injection for resin injection, and 4 point vent at the 4 corners is used as vent. So in this case, the mole fill time has come down. But the thing is that the pressure created for 0.5 liters is 20 atmospheres, so which is not good for mole design. So when it comes to the next example, flow gate of 0.6 liter per minute is used, whereas if you have a 4 point injection at the corners, 4 midpoint vent at the window of the window perimeter is used at the vent. In this case also you will have lesser mole fill time, but the thing is that 100 atmospheric pressure is created, because from this we can understand that I cannot use constant volume injection, because whenever I use constant volume injection, whether it is a line port or it is a point injection port, the thing is that you are getting more pressure drop within the mold. So you cannot afford to go over have a volume injection. So with further optimization, so what is my effective injection strategy is that the case study with in the right side, you can able to see that 4 point vents at the corners and 4 point injection port at the interior grid points. So you have a pressure gate 5 atmosphere, and moreover you get 37 minutes as the mole fill time, which is affordable time. And the thing is that you don't have a dry spot formation, so you have acceptable mole fill time. The pressure drop is also within 5 atmosphere, and that may be taken as effective injection strategy. So from the effective injection strategy, I could able to understand that my injection pressure is fixed at 5 atmosphere, and the injection strategy is 4 injection point on the front face and 4 vents at the corners of the cave front. And you can see that from the starting to end, there is a mole fill time reduction from 10 hours to 37 minutes with the better placement of injection ports and vents and the right judicious choice of injection gate at pressure of 5 atmospheric pressure resin injection. So after I get the effective injection strategy, I could able to see what is the effect of process parameters. But so if I vary permeability, if I vary resin viscosities, if I vary injection pressure, injection volume, how the mole fill time is getting varied. So this is what like a kind of sensitivity analysis with respect to different process parameters, how the mole filling time is getting varied for effective injection strategy. So when it comes to injection pressure, so you can able to see that increased injection pressure speeds up the mole fill time. A threshold volume mold pressure distribution profile and injection hardware equipments are very much important. Like I cannot keep on increasing the injection pressure. Yeah, threshold value has to be selected. And I could able to see that in the from the diagram, like from the figure, that so what are the different injection pressure used and how the mold fill is getting differed, and it has been modeled also. So this is like effect of resin viscosity. You can ask why the resin viscosity is varied, because obviously when I choose different grades of resin at room temperature, the viscosities will be different. It may be an indirect way of evaluating different grades of resin and how much mold fill time I will get for that. So you can able to see that it is a linear function. When the viscosity is getting varied, the mold fill time getting varied linearly. So that also had been modeled. So matte permeability, I have used only one, same permeability in all the directions. So when I use different, very directional permeabilities, I can able to see mold fill time. When the permeability is very lesser, mold fill time is very higher. And it has also modeled. So with respect to all the analysis, I come up with a perfect effective injection strategy with effective process parameters. The effective injection pressure is 5 atmosphere. So the chosen resin viscosity is advanced unsaturated polyester is 0.5 Pascal second. Matte permeability in an average 10 power minus 10 meter square, and matte porosity, it is a very simple formula. So we can measure that one. So these are the parameters, resin parameters and fiber matte parameters fed in. And the effective injection strategy, as told earlier, 4 vents at the corners, 4 injection ports at the grid points. And out of these things, the pressure get 5 atmosphere. We got 32 minutes, and there are no dry spot formation. So it is shown flow front progression for different time, for 1 minute, 4 minute, 10 minute, as well as 21 minute. You can see how the flow front is getting progressed within the because of this resin injection. So you can able to see the pressure distribution diagram also. From the pressure distribution, so it's from the injection part, you can see that the highest value of pressure is only at the injection port. And this is mold fill distribution, how this time is getting, at what time the resin is with respect to the position of the mold. So why air entrapment is very much important? There will be 2 things. One is micro void as well as macro void. So these voids are due to the differential flow within the fiber toes, differential flow of resin within the fiber toes. So it may be a smaller void or a bigger void, whatever. So it is a poor quality. The air is getting entrapped within the mold because it is due to the dual scale flow between the fiber toes and the bulk flow form. And the pressure gradient used here for modeling the air entrapment is like capillary pressure. So the pressure gradient will be not only injection pressure minus atmospheric pressure. In this case, injection pressure minus capillary pressure. So the capillary pressure in the simulation has to be modeled with respect to every fiber toes. You will have plenty of fiber toes. You cannot fix a pressure value in each and every toe. So what you will be doing, you will have a positive pressure at the vent, which will serve as capillary pressure for pressure gradient to simulate the air entrapment model. The flow model used here is also Darcy's law. One equation is imposed again here. PV by T is equal to constant within the air void. So this is another condition you have to impose to find out how much air is getting entrapped with the complete with the full mold filling. So you could able to see that the dry spots are macro voids and air entrapments are micro voids. So you can able to see that there are a lot of micro voids entrapped within this thing. So how it will be elevated from this? Like how can I remove this air entrapment? So capillary pressure can be modeled, I already told. So you can able to see air entrapped bottom and middle portion of the K front. So air entrapment reduction can be done again with respect to alteration of injection pressure with vent opening operators. There will be vent opening smaller taps. It is not equal to vents actually. You can use smaller taps in such a way to relieve the air entrap, and again you can go for pressurized mold filling so that you can close all the micro voids also. So resin curing simulation. So we already have a resin cure kinetics model, and this is dH by dt is the rate at which the heat is generated. This model also is a function of d alpha by dt, which is nothing but the cure kinetics model. HT is total heat of reaction, VR is volume fraction of the resin, and rho R is the density of the resin. Everything is known. So when I able to apply this resin curing simulation, so the main objective of this simulation is to obtain 0.95% cure within the less period of time using applied elevated temperature under isothermal condition. But what, and again, I cannot afford to go more and more temperatures, higher elevated temperatures. There should be a threshold value so that I can get quality degree of cure with a less period time. So this is that's why I just use this resin curing simulation. I have taken temperature ranges 323 to 353 kelvins. Under isothermal mode only I am curing. So these are the results you can see. So when the applied temperature increases, the degree of cure decreases with respect to time. That is what it's very obvious. You can able to see from the diagram also. So when I apply 353 Kelvin, the curing degree of cure attains value of 1 at very lesser temperature. So this is exothermy, how the heat is getting evolved. So obviously the heat evolved will be very higher when the temperature is higher. The rate at which the heat evolved at the instantaneous, at the earlier stages will be higher when the temperature is higher. So you can able to see to obtain 0.95, this is my aim actually, 0.95 degree of cure with respect to different temperature, what will be the cure time and what will be the maximum peak exothermy I will be obtaining. So you can able to see that, at 350 degrees centigrade, I can obtain 95% of curing within 400 seconds itself. So see, these are the simulation until now. These are the simulation at the full scale, like whatever dimension I had taken, like 3.5 meter, 3 meter by 12 millimeter thickness. So it is the simulation had been performed in full scale mode. Now I have to validate experimentally at the scale down mode. For that, to manufacture scale down mode, I have to develop one scale down strategy so that I can perform the experiment at the scale down mode. So you cannot alter in this scale down criteria. So reinforcement property, it is a property of the fiber mat. You cannot scale down that one, that is for sure. And resin property, because this is a raw material property, at any case I cannot scale down. Resin property, cure kinetics, cure viscosity, I cannot scale down. Injection strategy, also I cannot scale down. Scale down, it may be possible, but the thing is that only I can scale down is the dimension. With respect to dimension, and I have to manipulate with respect to the effective process parameters. But what is my benchmark? What is my basis to compare the full scale and scale down? Is like I should get the same mold fill time at full scale geometry as well as scale down geometry. That is one criteria. Another thing, mold fill pattern. So I have shown how the mold flow front is progression as a function of time. So that also has to be matched. When I match mold fill time as well as mold fill pattern with respect to full scale and scale down geometry, I can say that I have developed one scale down criteria to validate the experimental results. Okay, so I have taken for scale down strategy, I have taken 1D Darcy's law equation. So for the 1D equation, you can see Darcy's form. There's a function of pressure drop, permeability, directional permeability, resin viscosity, and the dx by dt is nothing but the velocity of the resin. So all these dimensional parameters had been put into non-dimensional form with respect to suitable parameters So length by length, time by time, there will be mean time, injection pressure by injection pressure. So you can able to see how it is non-dimensionalized. So for full scale, non-dimensionalized equation. For scale down, non-dimensional equation I have written. And by dividing full scale by scale down, so you can able to find out the criteria is to match the mole fill time. So when I match the mole fill time, I got a injection strategy as P injection at a scale down mold will be equal to P injection at full scale mold divided by S, which is nothing but the scale down factor S square. This S is nothing but length at full scale divided by length at scale